Hey there, folks. Welcome to today's episode of the SME Strategy Podcast. Today, I'm chatting with an entrepreneur, a leader, a board member. I want to say comedian in some part of it, somebody who enjoys, success, and he's laughing at that. So I'm glad I got it. I joked in the pre-roll that he might have patents older than me. I think 93 patents. Why I'm really excited to chat with Kevin Surace is really just his body of work from selling stuff in his early jobs to really leading technology growth, people focused companies that do great work, having some of the smartest people look to him as an advisor, and hear what he has to say about the future of work, about technology, about how to build a team to win in 2025 and beyond. Ken, I'm just excited to chat with you. Thanks for being here.
So happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
It's my pleasure. I tried to do a little bit about your bio. I know that you stay very busy. Do you want to tell folks, what is on your average calendar in a week? And I'll get into some questions.
Well, what's on my average calendar in a day is about 22 meetings or something, and almost all in Zoom, right? Look, I think this is certainly a time where some of us are running companies that have a lot of remote people, a lot of remote teams. Certainly in the tech world, we build a lot more remote teams than if I was a dry cleaner or a restaurateur or something like that. But look, they're sales meetings, they're executive staff meetings, they are lots of customer meetings. I love meeting with customers at all the companies I'm involved in. I think we all try to bring a little bit of value in the calls we have and the meetings we have. I try to bring value that helps a potential customer or a current customer see what the value and differentiation is in different products, right? In our products. I think that's a very big point is in sales, certainly in today's environment where there could be 10 or 20 or 50 or 100 other competitors. What differentiates you? What differentiates you? Is it your service? Is it your price? Is it the quality? Is it some other features that are really unique that no one else has? And you have to force those differentiating points over and over and over again so that your potential client can repeat them. And your existing clients can repeat them themselves so they can defend why they're using you instead of perhaps someone cheaper down the road, right? That's got something else. So there are all those meetings and then some. And I'm working on new patents. I've got 94 actually now and working on the 95th in the AI space. More stuff going on in AI. We'll get to talk about that. So and then I have Broadway and film career as well. So I'm actually busy with that. Some of the awards behind me are either Broadway or film awards. So I'm busy.
Yeah, no kidding. I love that. Well, let's dive in. So I think it was interesting. There's a lot of people who talk on AI. We have, folks who have spoken about AI before. What I find it so interesting, not incorporating adaptive AI. Yes, the workforce of the future. I think over the past couple of years, as somebody who goes in and out of organizations as well, we're hearing about AI, the adoption and use, and now the expectation of use is becoming, more widespread, and that technological adoption curve is there. So let's talk about how you are seeing in your board work, in your leadership work, organizations taking that we can use AI and incorporate it into it as a tool from a systematic change, but also from the board down to the customer. Because what I found really interesting about how you did your intro is that folks talk about AI and they talk about it as a productivity kind of deal, but they never actually talk about the downstream effects, the end effect for the customer and why they should give a shit. So the floor is yours.
Right. That's exactly right. Look, so when you look at, let's look at Gen AI, because that is a little easier for everybody to understand. Because when we talk about AI outside of Gen AI, that's going to be a major team, a major effort. We're going to do something with our data. We're going to be able to look at it and sort it, et cetera, better. We talk about Gen AI, that's something, you could probably use in some way or another within days or weeks, right? So when we look at generative AI in terms of content generation, every team that generates content, which is every team, by the way, had better be using it. Whether you're generating internal, PowerPoints or keynotes, or you're generating internal documents that end up as PDFs, or you're generating summaries of documents, or you're generating marketing material, or you're generating sales material. If you know what you're doing, the top models today with GPT 4.1, 4.5 now will just outperform any humans you have. Now, they're not outperforming that human by itself. They're outperforming the human with the human. They're making that human, not just augmenting them, but making them more powerful, basically, right? Not just more productive, more powerful, more smarter, more intelligent, more capable, faster. This is period true. So I use Gen AI in everything I do, whether it's text, whether it's visual, whether it's video. It doesn't matter whether it's analysis of data, summarizing documents. Tell me what this spreadsheet means. Tell me what the outcome is. What's the best way to improve the business if I've got this, and this? Why would you not use these tools, which are all of $20 a month? Well, you have to. And more than that, you better believe that your competitor is doing so. So they're going to pull ahead and you're going to pull behind. Look, we're training in all the companies I'm involved with, right? We're training our sales team now with essentially AIs, virtual AIs that have been trained on our information, trained on the sales process. And we watch salespeople get better in days leveraging AI and going back and forth, right? Just absolutely amazing. So why would you not do that when your competitor probably is? So I hear this, oh, well, we tried it, we played with it. I know everybody's played with it. Stop playing and start doing. Do real work that's critical. And then that teaches you how to prompt, how to ask for what you want. Look, my prompts are often 500 words. I've written the entire thing. I know what I want to say, but I know that I don't have an English major and it does. And it's read a trillion phrases. So take my 2 paragraphs and rewrite them to be a little punchier for this specific audience. Boom. 20 seconds later, I have it. That's amazing, right? So, you have to use AI across your business today in finance, in sales and everything.
Yeah. And what I find interesting, and so like, looking from your CV, you were involved in the early stages of technology where it's like, run DOS, CDOS, run DOS, run.
That is true.
And now being able to do something like that. And I assert that somebody in your position, both who's board seat, CEO, et cetera, having a thought partner. And so one of the ways I think about it is it's somebody who's smarter than you, who's literally like, you could yell at them and ask them for something, and they are going to choose to augment it. And then going back to that sales piece is, again, I assert that by having them run their stuff through some AI system, the generative AI, it allows them to focus on truly what's best. So optimizing the time, equipping them with a bunch of tools. And in principle, you could apply that throughout anybody in the organization who is
anybody in the organization. As you start to say, at the least, it's an ideator, right? Mm-hmm. It will come up with ideas that you didn't come up with. So every time I'm looking for, hey, I need to talk about something in this topic, and I'll think of 5 or 6 ways to approach it, or I'll think of 5 or 6 ways to approach a problem, and I'll say, I've come up with these ways, come up with another 10. Not that I'm going to use all 10, but it's possible that 2 or 3 out of that 10 are magnificent. I wouldn't have thought of them, or I might have thought of them 2 weeks from now, right? So the instantaneous ideation is so good. Right, you can't beat it. Well, we can get into how this is going to impact Hollywood because generating video and how that generates video, and you need no camera people, etc. I mean, there's so many impacts across each organization. But if you are small, medium business leader, manager, director, whatever it is, and your team is not literally doing their work, all of it with some generative AI model, you are missing out. Your people are 30, 40, 50% less productive than potentially your competitor is.
So as a board member, how do you direct, instruct, support CEOs on taking the step specifically for the executive team? Because in principle, though, they have the highest levers of strength within the organization. How do you direct them to take that step as AI becomes more friendly?
Yeah, look, you have to show them areas where it's worked at your other companies, right? You say, look, these are the tools I've used here. They are specifically tuned. Like, here's one that's tuned for sales. Here's one that's tuned for your SDRs, for your sales development reps or BDRs, right? Here is something that's tuned for marketing and it really works. And here's how you use that. Here's how you can generate this kind of content. Here's how you can ideate around the following things. Here's what you should be doing in finance. So for me, a lot of it is that I'm giving examples, very specific and concrete examples, and say these are things you should do because it's likely your competitor is. And look, CEOs want to do this. CEOs, unless they're highly technical, might not be the first to be drawn to do it themselves. I think every CEO should be using AI, but if they're not, you got to get your teams to do it. And then if you have development teams and coding teams and QA teams, like on the software side, that's a whole other area. If you're not using Copilot or Devin or Gemini or Claude in writing code, then your team is half as productive as it could be.
Yeah.
Period. Like, this is a given you're using. If you're not, I mean, one of the companies I'm involved in, we mentioned earlier, is AppVance, and AppVance developed AI that finds bugs in your applications, and it finds them about 10 times faster and 10 times more, 10 times faster and 10 times more bugs than people do. Period. Full stop. It's better than the humans. Okay. And so your software QA is costing you a lot of money. It's a lot of heads there, and it's taking a long time, especially regression testing. And there's AI that does that. I mean, really, literally does it. Now, let me add this. In the midst of this, as a CEO, you're going to find, or a leader, there's a lot of AI washing out there. There's a lot of companies now that have AI on their website. And when you dig in, if you have the background to dig in and say, what models are you using? How do they work? How are they privatized? What data did they learn on, et cetera? You'll find out 9 times out of 10, it's AI washing. They didn't do a thing. They have no AI. Well, we have this thing over here, and it's like a little copilot that helps you. And okay, that's not going to change my productivity, right? So when we look at AI in customer support, for example, the companies that I know and have worked with, and all the keynotes I've given, I get to talk to the CEOs, right? Look, tier 1 customer support, call centers being replaced en masse as we sit here with AI virtual assistants or chatbots. And the data coming back from those interactions is that they're solving the problems much faster, 4 or 5 times faster than the humans did. This is not to say that those humans weren't good people, et cetera, but that job is gone. There are some tasks that are going to go away. Sitting in a call center, tier 1, somewhere offshore probably at this point, that job's gone.
Can I speak to this just really quick? Because I really like how on your website, kevinsurace.com, everybody, that you can see and you say, hey, AI automation. And so disambiguating AI and these models and tools and a technology, not just a fake smart person, but actually it's just an automation. It's just a machine. The same way you would do manufacturing. You could say, if this machine could, hammer 1,000 nails in a minute and I'd have to do it. It's the same deal. And so I really think that as more people are talking about it, more people are equipping it, big software products are using it within their software, there's an opportunity to find the right application in your organization to automate processes better, be leaner, meaner, and adapt to, like you said, drive better value for the customer. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's about.
I'll give you a funny example. It'll be obvious to everyone who's listening is, we solved math a long time ago. People say, well, we're scared, this and that. We solve math because we have Excel, and we all use Excel, and Excel's been around now for 40 years or so. And the thing with Excel is no one thinks that they're better at math than Excel, because that's impossible. It's perfect at math. So in fact, we've had math models, and as humans, we gave up being the top of the heap on doing math, or the top of the heap on doing long division, let's say, because me and a pencil, I cannot do long division at the speed of Excel. Period. Full stop. And I'll probably make a mistake and it won't. So we gave up, and we were willing to give up math. Well, now it's language and visuals and drawings and illustrations and photographs and video, right? And analysis and things like that of using language. And so trust me, we are going to give up that top of the heap thinking, like, oh, well, I'm going to be smart. No, you're not smarter than GPT 4.1 or 4.5. You're not. Now, that is not human. It's not actually thinking, but it read 1 trillion phrases and it remembered all of them, and you can't.
Yes, so your intelligence is artificial compared to the robots.
Yes.
Okay, yes. Let me ask, and I really do have, I'd love to ask you thoughts and perspectives on the environmental impact of all of this stuff. However, as we move into this new world, as we kind of go from 2025 to 2030, which a lot of our clients, their strategic plans, How do
Yeah.
we not lose the joy in our work? And I know joy is a key component, very subtle transition to that, but you want to speak to joy for a couple of minutes?
Well, it's a book I'm working on right now called The Joy Success Cycle. And what I've learned, people have been asking me, how is it that you do all this? You got all this energy and everything. I said, well, I come at every single task with joy, every single one, because I get to look at any task on my list, as you had tasks on your list today, or we're doing this podcast. I can look at each one with disdain, anger, complaints, etc., or I can look at it with positivity and joy. So I look at every task with joy. I don't care if it's mopping the floor. I say, well, here's what's joyful about that. I'm going to have a cleaner floor and I'm going to check something off my list. That's joy. And I like to make lists because when I check something off, I go, it's a win. It's a success. It's a little modicum of success for that day. So the joy success cycle basically ties joy and success together. And it says you will not reach your the highest level of success without having joy at every moment of every day in every task. And that is a very big deal. And we, in the book, which is not out yet, but in the book, we talk about ways to trick your brain or gamify your brain into this. So I'll give you an example. Anyone listening to this today or watching it, what I'd like you to do is tomorrow, this is your exercise, your take-home quiz. Tomorrow, when you get up, you start to count the internal or external negatives or complaints that you have. Just count them. And anything, if you get up and say, oh, it's raining, there's one, right? Oh, my knees hurt. There's two. Oh, the breakfast is overcooked. There's three. I just continue down the line, right? We'll just continue down the line. And the thing is the average human will have over 100 of these in a day, internal and external. A lot of when we externalize, because we want people to hear our pain. I don't know why we do that, but we do. Okay, at the end of that day, now your task is this, because this is what I live by. I get one complaint a day. Choose it carefully. So if you happen to get up and forget about this mind trick and you go, oh, my knees hurt, you're all done. You're done for the day. There's your one for the day. And this mind trick is so good because then it tricks you into saying, I guess I can't complain anymore today. I'm not allowed because I used up my one. And you start going through the day and go, no, I caught myself. I'm not going to complain. Oh, I'm going to look at this from a point of joy. I'm almost out of water, but it'll allow me to get up and walk down and get a few more steps in and come back and see, it changes your view of every single thing and it forces you to change that view. And I'm going to tell you, you're going to run a better company. Everyone's going to want to work for you. Everyone's going to want to be around you. People are going to love you more than they ever have because you're, frankly, a bundle of joy. And I don't mean it tritely. I mean it as a literal action that you're taking and a tactic and a strategy that you're taking every single day.
I love it. I mean, context is decisive, as it's been said, and you have a choice for all things. And just getting my hair cut today, and the ladies, I'm like, oh, it's going to be hard. So don't think about it. It's going to be hard. It's going to be great. Your
Right.
brain knows it. And I think that, as somebody who has lived it, been there, been the driver of people, I'm sure this has been your moniker for some time. Just now you're putting it in a book to share with others. I think it's a great reminder that in the face of all of these opportunities, see what I did there? That you bring about positivity, not for positivity's sake, not to just kind of blow smoke up everybody's ass, because it's a choice. And if you have the right choice, you'll approach it in the right reasons. I think you'll be a great leader. Kevin, before we finish up, anything else you want to add for our listeners today?
Oh, there's so much disruptive innovation, how you drive that risk reward equation, right? I mean, this is what running a business is about. In the end, it is a team sport, and I always say, look, it's a team sport. However, it's a team sport where I am absolutely leading the team, and I've worked for people that did this. I don't like working for someone who also can't make a decision. They're so focused on, it's so team oriented that everything stops because we're waiting for one person to eventually come around to the same decision, right? So when I hire, I always say, look, it's a team sport. I'm always going to hear you. I'm always going to listen, but there'll be a time clock on that. And maybe it's just 1 hour for this meeting, and maybe it's a week. And when we hit the time clock, I have listened to everybody, but I'll have to make the decision if we didn't come to consensus. I hope we do, but I'm making decisions and we're moving forward. And if you don't like that management style, don't come here. Mm-hmm. But if you say okay to that, you can never complain about it again because you've accepted that we don't always have to agree, but you have to be listened to. And another thing is listening is a two-way street. So I love it when you have an exec staff member or an employee or whatever that comes to you and they go, well, no, I'm going to make it up. We need lobster tails for lunch every day. We need lobster tails. We need lobster tails. And I go, I've heard you, but they're very expensive, and the answer is no. And the first thing they do is say, well, you didn't hear me. No. I heard you very well, but you didn't hear me.
Yeah.
No. So here and listening is also a two-way street, right? The boss does occasionally get to say no, and lobster tails for lunch, every day is just not one of the things that most companies are going to want to afford. It's an interesting idea, though.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, if you want to work for a great leader, work for Kevin, but be warned, there are no lobster tails for lunch. Kevin,
Exactly.
thank you so much, not only for the joy that you've given to me and a context that is shared, but just your generosity, and there's bits of my phone that are there thanks to you. So I appreciate that too. Just thanks for what you do. Thanks for being who you are in the world. I think that the world needs more of it, and I just appreciate you coming to share with our audience today.
I appreciate you having me. Thanks so much.
Pleasure was mine. Folks, my guest today, Kevin Surace. You can check him out online. Of course, book him to speak should you wish. Learn more about the work that he's doing. I think the world would be a better place with more better leaders, artificial intelligence, or real intelligence. Who cares? Folks, this has been the Strategy and Leadership Podcast presented by SME Strategy. I appreciate you for watching. Like, subscribe, do all the things, share with your friends, share with your team. And remember, if you have one thing to complain about, choose it wisely. Until next time.